Okay, let's begin. Yeah, who would like to read? Yeah, anyone?
I'll go, Monica.
Hanji, ji.
Immortal rhythms swayed in her time-born steps. Her look, her smile awoke celestial sense. Even in earth stuff and their intense delight poured a supernal beauty on men's lives. A wide, self-giving was her native act, a magnanimity as of sea or sky, enveloped with its greatness all that came, and gave a sense as of a greatened world. Her kindly care was a sweet temperate sun, her high passion a blue heaven's equipoise.
Yeah. So this is again, this whenever we read this, we can just remind ourselves of the mother. This is the description. Immortal rhythms swayed in her time-born steps. Again, a paradoxical situation. Immortal rhythms swayed in her time-born steps. So obviously, when the avatar takes the human form, it is for some time, right? The steps are time-born. But even in those steps, she carried immortal rhythms in her. Something of immortality, something from where the soul comes from, something very divine in nature, something timeless, eternal. Her look, her smile awoke celestial sense. Even her look, when she looked at us, yet as human beings, her smile, it awoke a celestial sense in us, something of the other realms. Even in earth stuff and their intense delight. So this celestial sense got invoked even in dead earth stuff. And mother, if I'm remembering correctly, at one place she shares, wherever I have put my feet on, whatever space has touched my feet has gotten transformed. Even in earth stuff and their intense delight. So that delight, that celestial sense got invoked in matter wherever her smile, her eyes, her touch was there. And their intense delight poured a supernal beauty on men's lives. As if, imagine that she's having a mug or a jar, bottomless jar, full of this intense celestial delight. And this is what she's pouring on men's lives. Poured a supernal beauty on men's lives. A wide self-giving was her native act. It was very natural to us. अगर हम kindness की बात करते हैं, kindness does not come very naturally to us. We have to force ourselves to be kind, many a times. A wide self-giving was her native act. It was very natural to her, this self-giving, giving herself, offering herself to the world and people. A magnanimity as of sea or sky, that kind of a generosity, enveloped with its greatness all that came. So her generosity, as if it enveloped everything that she touched, and gave a sense as of a greatened world. Whenever we get in touch with people who are very generous, extremely self-giving in nature, not in a dark sense, not wanting something out of that self giving in a completely pure sense. There, the world really feels greatened, kitna expanded lagta hai, like looks liberated, does not look constricted. Her kindly care was a sweet, temperate sun. Sun bhi hai, but a sweet and a temperate sun, not too hot, warm, warm, neither too cold nor too intense. Her kindly care was like that. Her high passion, a blue heaven's equipoise. Passion bhi hai, but there is a poise in that passion. The intensity is there, but it is not a spilling out intensity. Jo, we get too distracted many a times if there is a lot of joy, a lot of intensity. We just want to kind of spill it out. So that was not there, owing to her stillness in the being. Yeah, and anything, just keep on commenting if there is anything. Yeah. Anyone?
Yeah. As might a soul fly like a hunted bird, escaping with tired wings from a world of storms, and a quiet reach like a remembered breast, in a haven of safety and splendid soft repose. One could drink life back in streams of honey fire, recover the lost habit of happiness, feel her bright nature's glorious ambience, and preen joy in her warmth and colors rule.
Yeah. So just like, we earthly mortal beings, when we live like mortal beings, we really feel tired by this, the world's struggles. As might a soul fly like a hunted bird, you know, all the pain and suffering and the struggles and the mortal, all the chaos. So when a soul is really tired of all that is happening in the on the mortal realm, so that is a reference, that is the imagery presented here. As might a soul fly like a hunted bird, escaping with tired wings from a world of storms, and a quiet reach like a remembered breast. So Savitri's ambience, when one gets in touch with Savitri, it's like as if one comes to a soft place where one feels like, oh, I feel home. I don't feel alien in this place. Feels like a remembered breast. When imagine there is a little bird and it's trying to fly and practice her wings out, and then it really gets tired and tired. Then it comes back to her mother in the nest and enjoys the warm breast of the mother. A quiet reach like a remembered breast. In a heaven of safety and splendid soft repose. That is how it now feels like a safe place where that bird can rest. No one is going to harm that little bird when she is next to her mother's breast. That is how one felt when one got in touch with Savitri. In a heaven of safety and splendid soft repose, one could drink life back in streams of honey fire, intense yet sweet, honey and fire together. So, just like that, being in touch with Savitri's ambience, the tired soul could drink life back, as if we normally, when we land up, in phases of life full of confusion, full of chaos, we don't understand how we landed up here, drained of energy. Now that tired soul could drink life back in streams of honey fire, a sweet intensity, and recover the lost habit of happiness. As if dukh dard mein hum bhool hi jate hain what is happiness. We just know little pleasures, but we have forgotten the habit of the soul's happiness, the delight of the existence, the delight of the being. Here in Savitri's presence, one could recover the lost habit of happiness and feel her bright nature's glorious ambience and preen joy in her warmth and colors rule. Preen joy, preening is when, imagine that there is a bird, she has got just drenched in the rain. And if you have seen birds, when they get drenched, they do this, they fluff their feathers with their beak and do side to side, with their neck. So that is what is preening. So as if it's kind of refreshing itself now, preening joy, fluffing the joy up in her life, that tired soul when it comes to Savitri. That is the magic that Savitri carries with her. Yeah. Next, who would like to read?
I'll start.
Ji.
A deep of compassion, a hushed sanctuary, her inward help unbarred a gate in heaven. Love in her was wider than the universe. The whole world could take refuge in her single heart.
Yeah. So though Savitri now has taken a human body, but her being is unlimited. Her being is immortal, eternal, and still carries a lot of that immortality and eternality about it. Her consciousness is wide, large, and deep, ready to embrace the whole universe. And that is what, again, again, the description goes on, a deep of compassion. Imagine that there is a deep, huge bed of compassion, huge bed of compassion, a hushed sanctuary where one could be really quiet, still, and secluded from all that drains one out. Her inward help unbarred a gate in heaven. So, this is the reference to the kind of help that mother used to give to whoever got in touch with the mother. Inward help. And that inward help, an outward help is that, for example, somebody falls down and I help him out to get up. Or somebody wants food, I give him food. That is outward help. This help, the inward help that mother gave to sadhaks or people who got in touch with her, that unbarred a gate in heaven, as if there is a block within our being. And because of the inward help, that block in us gets dissolved. And I get in touch with the heaven inside me. Her inward help unbarred a gate, opened up a gate in heaven. Love in her was wider than the universe. Wider than the universe. The whole world could take refuge in her single heart. That is just describing the magnanimity of, in this case, mother's heart, the purpose for which she was born. And obviously, this continues, goes on and on. We'll just go through that again in some other form. The great unsatisfied Godhead here could dwell. That is a reference to unsatisfied Godhead is the Godhead of love, the God of love. It's unsatisfied. Why unsatisfied? Because when one has too much, one wants to give and give and give, है ना कि किसको दूं, अब लोग कम पड़ गए, इतना ज्यादा है मेरे पास, मुझे और देना है, मुझे और देना है. So that is why unsatisfied Godhead, the Godhead of love, wants to give more and more and more love, but the beings are not ready. So here in Savitri, the being is ready to contain that love and then to spill it out to people. Here, the great unsatisfied Godhead here could dwell, vacant of the dwarf self's imprisoned air. This is really beautiful. This is reference to the ego. Now, Savitri's being is vacant of the stale air of dwarf self, which is ego, our little self, our limited self. Such a beautiful phrase, dwarf self's imprisoned air. जैसे एक कमरे में बंद, if there is a room in which doors and windows are just closed, the air within that room smells after some time. It becomes stale. And that is the reference to our limited ego, our limited conception of ourselves, and continuation of that conception in our lives. हम इतने ही हैं, इतने ही रहेंगे और उसी को आगे बढ़ाते रहेंगे, full of misery. So here in her Savitri's being, because Savitri's being was vacant of this dwarf self's imprisoned air. It's a wide being, it's an open being, it's a generous being that Savitri has. So it does not contain that imprisoned air. It is free of that imprisoned air, the stale air. Her mood could harbor his sublimer breath. Now, because of this vacancy in her being, the space in her being, her mood could harbor this sublimer breath, the breath of the Godhead of love. Spiritual that can make all things divine. And when love is there, when pure love is there, it has the power of transformation. It can transform. And here in Savitri, all that appeared possible because of the absence of egoistic self, the absence of staleness of the being. Yeah. Anything from here? Okay. Yeah, just last line, I think I missed that. For even her gulfs were secrecies of light. Now, this is again, I found these few lines really very practically relevant for us. How our ego makes us stale and old and poisonous, if one can say. So even her gulfs were secrecies of lights. When we go down in our gulfs, we see a lot of darkness and lot of garbage and ugliness. In case of Savitri, owing to the lack of all that egoistic agendas, her gulfs, her deeper depths were nothing but secrecies of light. There is more and more light hiding in those gulfs. And if we even compare our own regular human mortal existence with this, we will see that on the appearance, our gulfs really appear very ugly. But if we really go to the root of the issue, the root of the darkness, there we see nothing but clarity and light. If we are able to reach that depth. Yeah. Yes, who would like to read?
I'll go, Monica.
Yeah.
At once she was the stillness and the world, a continent of self diffusing peace, an ocean of untrembling virgin fire. The strength, the silence of the gods were hers.
Yeah. So at once She was the stillness and the word. So usually when we talk about stillness, we feel that चुप हो जाना चाहिए, हम बोलना नहीं चाहिए, हाँ, किसी के सामने जैसे चुप हो जाओ, आर्ग्यूमेंट मत करो, मत बोलो. But that is another extreme, right? So Savitri has a balance of stillness, poise, and the dynamism of word. Because words are there for a purpose. Words are there for a reason. But unfortunately, most of the times we are not able to use the words properly, owing to the mixture of the ego in the word. Savitri, she was stillness and the word at the same time, full of grace, poise, and whatever is necessary would also be said along with that poise, stationed within that poise. A continent of self diffusing peace. When we have these continents in geography, a vast mass of land full of self diffusing peace. कुछ करना नहीं पड़ रहा पीस को डिफ्यूज करने के लिए. It's an effortless process, just like we put an agarbatti, and the fragrance diffuses out effortlessly after lighting it up. So she was a continent, a huge mass of self-diffusing peace, an ocean of untrembling virgin fire. Whenever we talk about fire, it is reference to the intensity, the power of transformation. Untrembling. Why untrembling? Because she's coming from a place which is fearless. She's established in her immortality. So, what to fear? What is there to fear? Untrembling, virgin fire, pure fire. The strength, the silence of the gods were hers. She had that present, all that strength of gods, silence of the gods, present in her human form. That rare a combination.
May I, Monica?
Yes.
In her he found a vastness like his own, his high, warm, whole, sorry, his high, warm, subtle ether he refound, and moved in her as in his natural home. In her he met his own eternity.
Yeah. So this is again referring to the god of love. In Savitri, the god of love has found finally a vastness like his own. Imagine that uh, one can use an imagery to use this. Imagine that one is coming from a place or maybe an alien land where one is used to the vastness, one is used to the wideness and the magnanimity of space. And then one enters into a planet which is extremely different, little spaces here and there. And now this being who has come from an alien land, he's trying to find, he's not feeling home anywhere. Every place is looking very constricted, very limited. And suddenly he enters into this huge area where he feels he gets a reflection of his own alien in his own planet, wherever he's coming from. And there he feels home. There he feels, here I can settle down. Here I can work. Here I can feel home. So just like that, in Savitri's being, owing to her vastness, the god of love found a vastness like his own. His high, warm, subtle ether he refound. Ether is a reference to a pure element, a purest of pure element, rarest of rare elements. And divine love or pure love is just as rare to find as ether. Here in Savitri's purity, he refound that same element that he himself is made of. And now an intermingling can happen. Like pani mil gaya pani mein. Just like that, the God of love can now immerse himself in Savitri's being. Here he feels home and moved in her as in his natural home. He's not feeling alien in this being. In her, he met his own eternity. From here, he can begin to work on earth. So far, he was not able to find any suitable place or niche for him to work on earth. Yeah, yes, you would like to read.
Um, Till then, no mournful line had barred this ray. On the frail breast of this precarious earth, since her orbed sight in its breath fastened house, opening in sympathy with happier stars, where life is not exposed to sorrowful change, remembered beauty death claimed lids ignore, and wondered at this world of fragile forms, carried on canvas strips of shimmering time, the impunity of unborn mites was hers.
Yeah. Till then, now till then, this is a reference of till the time love came to Savitri. Till that time, no mournful line had barred this ray that Savitri is. Till the time love entered her life, she was untouched by any sorrow, any sadness. Till then, no mournful line had barred this ray. On the frail breast of this precarious earth, this precarious earth is a place where everything is changing, everything. There is nothing that will stay forever. It is a dangerous place. One can never take things for granted. On the frail breast of this precarious earth, in a matter of a second, things can change on earth. So it's a dangerous place, it's earth. Since her orbed sight in its breath fastened house, this is the reference of when Savitri took human form. Orbed is a spherical sight, when we begin to have human eyes, when the soul has taken human form. In its breath fastened house, I think we came across a few lines early also, where it was a reference as if a lot of vastness has been put in this cage which is human form, and हल्की सी उसको opening दे दी गई है breath. Okay, through this you can breathe. So the soul is unlimited in nature, it's vast, it's eternal, and it has been put into this cage of human form, fastened with breath, as if locked with breath. उसको जारी लगा दी, उसको बंद कर दिया बाहर से ताला, और ये breath दे दी, कि यहाँ से सांस लो बस. Since her orbed sight in its breath fastened house, opening in sympathy with happier stars. This is also, we can use this imagery of how a newborn looks in wonder when he opens his eyes for the first time. ये कहाँ था और कहाँ आ गया? Totally new and alien to this world of bodies and forms. Look, it's really amazing what a shock actually uh, we must go through when we are born as human beings, owing to where we are coming from. Although we, in our forgetfulness, we don't realize, and that forgetfulness also is created for a purpose. No, we don't realize, otherwise it will be too shocking for the soul, कि ये कहाँ, मतलब where am I just dropped from where? Since her orbed sight in its breath-fastened house, opening in sympathy with happier stars. So this is also a reference to where we are coming from. We are coming from realms of ananda, of bliss, a soul where it comes from. Opening in sympathy. It means when I open my eyes as a child, as a newborn, I am still connected to those happier realms from where I am coming. Sympathy means I am opening up in a likeness to those realms from where I have come from. Where life is not exposed to sorrowful change. Sorrow and pain happens on earth only, this mortal existence. There from where the soul comes from, their life is not exposed to this change and change of forms and sorrow and death and pain and all that. Remembered beauty, death claimed, lids ignored. So our death claimed lids, our eyelids referring to our vision, we cannot remember, no matter how hard we try, of that bliss that we have come from. Or maybe it happens for once in a while, we don't know. But when Savitri is born as a human being, she's looking at this mortal existence as a newborn. She's still remembering those realms, those transcendences, the heaven that she has come from, where sorrow is not existent, where life is not exposed to sorrowful change. Remembered her orbed sight, remembered beauty, which the usual death claimed lids ignore. We just see pain, suffering, struggle, change. We all see that. Our death claimed lids are not supposed to see anything else. We just see everything changing in front of our own eyes. But she is still remembering those transcendences and wondered. Now, this is referring to the wonder of the newborn, and wondered at this world of fragile forms. Where have I come? What is this world that I've been put into? Carried on canvas strips of shimmering time. This is just like what happens in the movies. We have these photographic strips, or this canvas strips, on which we make these posters of movies, or scene after scene, this photographic strip or canvas strip, and it is changing in time. Things are changing in time. This was when I was 10-year-old. Now this is when I am 12-year-old. Now this is when I am 14-year-old. So things are changing in time. Wondered at this world of fragile forms carried on canvas strips of shimmering time. Everything is happening in time. Everything is very, very fragile, comes and goes, comes and goes. The impunity of unborn mites was hers. So, here a reference to a human birth, yet a deep connection with the immortality of something beyond time. Savitri is still connected to. Impunity is, for example, these ambassadors, these people, just say, ambassador of Switzerland, for example, these people, VIPs, we call so called, they have a certain immunity. They cannot be just kind of interrogated by police like that. They have a immunity, they have a protective layer about them. So she also carried that kind of an immunity, impunity of unborn mights. A might, a strength which is unborn, and that which is unborn can also never die. So that is the strength, that is the might that Savitri carried in her. Unborn strength, that which is never born and therefore can never die. It can never be taken away. And this also gives me a very clear indication to our own lives. When we begin to look into our own selves, slowly, when the layers of dirt are removed by attention, we see that we always have that unborn strength, that which can never die and which is never born, which is beyond all the change that can be seen in the world. That is the strength that Savitri carried in herself. Yeah,
I'll go, Monica.
yeah,
Although she leaned to bear the human load, her walk kept still the measures of the gods. Earth's breath had failed to stain that brilliant glass, unsmeared with the dust of our mortal atmosphere. It still reflected heaven's spiritual joy.
yeah. So one thing I would like to refer to what I think missed maybe stating here. Wondered at this world of fragile forms. When we usually talk in circles, in harmony circle and in also the other sessions, to look attentively. All that we can look at, to look at it attentively. When we are wondering at all the fragility in our life, in that wonderment, we are not that fragility. And that is our own, that is something of our own, that has not been given by the society. The fragility, the human forms, the changing, phases of life, the changing phases of one's relationships, all that is given by the society, all that is given by the world. But when we stop and in our aloneness we look at this changing world, in that looking, we are not that changing world. So that aloofness, that aloneness is something totally untouched by the world, untainted, untarnished by the world. This is what I wanted to share. Yeah. Although she leaned to bear the human load, her walk kept still the measures of the gods. Now Savitri has taken human form. She's leaning from the heavens, as if she has taken birth, leaning from above, uh, to bear the human load. What has happened with humanity. Now to transform it, she has taken birth. So although that human load is on her shoulders, she still has the walk, which is the measures of the gods, coming from the domain of light, coming from the domain of an understanding. Her walk has that light, that poise. Earth's breath had failed to stain that brilliant glass, our consciousness. If we look at our consciousness, it gets stained so easily, so easily. सुबह कुछ कह दिया, वो अभी तक पड़ा हुआ है दिमाग में. It is staining the glass that we are, staining the mirror of our consciousness. And that is why we become clouded, we become tarnished. सुबह से जो बोला था वो अभी तक, जैसे I think today in the Doha I shared that a bit, we, so one thing is like a sponge, something falls on a sponge, and the sponge regains its suppleness. And the other thing is when something falls on a wet cement, it leaves the imprint. So our consciousness is not like a glass. It's a glass which is tainted, which is mela, which is dirty. Lots of layers are there. Earth's breath, taking this human form, going through all the human experiences. Earth's breath, that is a reference to Earth's breath. That had failed to stain that brilliant glass that one's consciousness is. Savitri's consciousness is untarnished by all the human experiences that one gains, one has when one takes a earthly form. And this is what Kabir refers to, हृदय माही आरसी मुख देखा नहीं जाए, मुख तो तभी देखिए जब दिल की दुविधा जाए. So he says there is a mirror in deep in your heart, but you cannot see yourself in that mirror. You will only be able to see that mirror when the confusion, the cloud of confusion will clear it up. Only then the true face can be seen clearly. And if we see all the cloud, all the confusion comes only from being the I, being me, being myself, and all that is done onto me. That is the source of all misery, right? That did not happen with Savitri's consciousness. Her consciousness was wide and supple. And this is our task as a human being. We have gotten constricted over time. We have gotten limited over time. We have gotten dirty over time. And the journey towards divine is nothing, journey towards ourselves is nothing but to look at this dirt, and to, in that looking, the dirt gets cleansed. Kabir says, दास कबीर ने जतन से ओढ़ी, ज्यों की त्यों धर दीनी चदरिया. जैसी पकड़ाई थी मुझे भगवान ने, मैंने वैसे ही उसको धर दी. मैंने उसको मैला नहीं किया. अपने डिजायर से, अपनी ग्रीड से हम उसको मैला करते हैं. सो कबीर कह रहे हैं मैंने बहुत जतन से ओढ़ी है. When we have to go against a desire, we have to put a lot of effort. Desire following is very effortless. When I have to just follow a desire, follow anger, follow, ambition, follow all that unconsciousness, that is very effortless. There one does not need any effort. The effort is needed in understanding the desire, going to its roots. And that is why Kabir says, मैंने तो वैसे की वैसी ही धर दी. And this is where, I think I related very strongly with these three lines, that Savitri's consciousness is as brilliant glass, unsmeared with the dust of our mortal atmosphere. All the human relationships, all the gains and losses were not able to smear her consciousness with the dirt, with the residues that remain in our mind. ये क्यों नहीं मिला, वो क्यों छूट गया, वो मिलना चाहिए था, वैसे मिलना चाहिए था, उसने मेरी बात नहीं सुनी. All those residues that we carry on our consciousness, that taint our consciousness, it still reflected heaven's spiritual joy. Now the mirror is clear, as we were talking of Kabir's mirror. हृदय माही आरसी मुख देखा नहीं जाए. It's still, owing to her consciousness clear and bright, it was able to reflect heaven's spiritual joy. Imagine there is a glass, and that glass door is tainted. It will not be able to reflect the outer sun properly. Just like that, our glasses have been tainted over time. And life's truest purpose is nothing but to, but to move towards purity to remove all the stains and taints that we have on ourselves. Just that is enough of an aim for a lifetime, that will keep us busy throughout. So I think I would like to stop here because this is something which we can just contemplate on or take away. Yeah, yeah, thank you for, yeah, thanks everyone.